here to learn and analyze the poem "Voice Kind" by Stephen Crane. And yeah, I think let's get right into it. So everyone knows this is the in our O-level syllabus, and yeah, so let's get right into it. Okay. Yeah. So here's the poem "Voice Kind" by Stephen Crane. And remember, this is the way you start. This is the way you start the essay type. This is the way you write the title, Voice Kind by Stephen Crane. Remember the capitals, the simples, the sentence cases and stuff. Remember all those stuff because that's very important when it comes to your O-level syllabus. Okay. So yeah, let's continue. Do not weep, maiden, for voice kind, because your lover threw wild hands towards the sky, and the afraid steed ran on alone. Do not weep, voice kind. So now, you could clearly see that Stephen Crane, the poet, has repeated the word "do not weep" and "voice kind." Repeated those two sentences, and voice kind. What could you understand by that? Is war kind? Do they have advantages? Is it good for us? Is war kind? Seriously, what is a war? Basically, like two countries or maybe two communities fighting with each other. So it's all destroying. It's a disaster. So how can that be kind? Now this is what they call irony. The poet the poet is using irony to show the danger of the war, to show the pathetic situation of the war. So the poet uses irony. So that's why he has mentioned voice kind. So that's irony. And yeah, so that's basically the reason. Yeah, sorry for the little delay. So do not weep, maiden. So who's maiden here? Maiden, in the sense, the poet refers to a young unmarried woman, concerning about her dead soldier lover. Okay, so the poet says, "The maiden, do not weep, because your lover threw wild hands towards the sky." So basically, what the poet is mentioning here is her lover was shot, and the afraid steed ran on alone. So what they mention here is her lover was shot while riding a horse, and the steed, also known as the horse, ran away in fright. The horse got scared and ran away, whereas the her lover got shot. So affrighted in the sense it's scared. So basically, the poet is consoling a maiden because her lover had been shot while riding on a horse, and the affrighted horse had ran on alone. So he is mentioning that, and at last he's mentioning, "Do not weep, boys kind." So the two lines, "Do not weep, boys kind," is actually irony, and we could mention it as refrain. So refrain, in the sense, what refrain is? Refrain is basically repeating irony again and again. So you see, they have these the two lines back again in the third stanza and then in the last. So it's basically refrain, which the poet uses to emphasize the danger of war. And moving on to the second stanza, "Horse, booming drums of the regiment, little souls who thirst for fight. These men were born to drill and die. The unexplained glory flies above them. Great is the battle god, great and his kingdom." So now here the word horse. The word horse. Let me show you the word horse. Okay, the word horse is actually a rough and harsh sound. Booming drums. Booming is kind of like roaring sound, something like that. And that's not that important. Regiment, in the sense, they are referring to a large group of soldiers. So regiment, in the sense, a group of soldiers, and the little souls. Metaphorically, they are explaining the soldiers. Okay, little souls who thirst for fight. Metaphorically, they are explaining the soldiers. So the soldiers who thirst for fights. These men were born to drill and die. So we see the letter D, drill and die. It's repeated. It's repeated, and what's that? Obviously, it's alliteration. So that kind of like highlights the effect. Okay, and drill and die. What's drill and die? These men were born to drill and die. It's either win or you die. You either win or you die. So it's like a life and death situation. That's what's mentioned here. The unexplained glory. So unexplained glory is oxymoron. Yeah, glory is oxymoron. So it's like putting two opposite words together: unexplained and then glory. All right, flies above them. So basically, what they're trying to say is they were highly influenced by someone, that they would be war heroes, that they would be heroes, they would be the heroes of the country, patriotic people, something like that. They had been convinced. Okay, and then they say, give me a second. Yeah, moving on. They say, great is the battle god, great and his kingdom. So now what could we see? Great is the battle god, great and his kingdom. What could you feel? You immediately see the alliteration. Great, God, great. So it's like the G is repeating again and again. This highlights those words. Um, yeah, so great is the battle god and great is his kingdom. All right. So now, and then he says again, a field where 1,000 corpses lie. So what are corpses? Corpses in the sense dead bodies, the ones who are dead, the dead soldiers. They lie on a field, the battlefield. The dead bodies they remain. Do not weep for boys kind, because your father tumbled in the yellow trenches, raged at his breast, gulped and died. Do not weep, boys kind. So a field where 1,000 corpses lie up. So as I said, the battlefield where the dead bodies of the soldiers lie. Do not weep, babe. Now who is this babe here? It's actually a little girl who has lost her father. Okay, a little girl who has lost her father. So the poet is confronting her in a very sarcastical manner. So because your father tumbled in the yellow trenches, so your yellow symbolizes sickness. Okay, so this in these disgusting trenches. Trenches. What are trenches? A long narrow cut in the earth used in warfare to get covered from the opposite teams. Like they basically get covered through it. Like they cover themselves, it's like for their protection. Basically, like when they're shooting, they cover in the trenches. So what happened? Like it's hard. It's hard to get covered there because it's like a very enclosed space, and they like it's usually very claustrophobic and it's really hard. So sick, like the sick trenches. This the yellow the color yellow actually explains sickness, or you could say disgust. Raged at his breast, gulped and died. He raged at his breast, gulped, and he died. Do not weep, voice kind. So now we get the refrain again. Like, how would you feel if someone comes and tell you, if some loved one of you passed away? Oh, I hope not. But like, if someone comes and say you like how the way he died, he cried, he died like this. He fell in the sick trenches. He gulped and died. Do not weep, voice kind. How will you feel that? How will you feel when I say that? Like, you will like be pissed off, and you'll be disappointed. You'll get like even more hurt. Okay, but here he's sarcastically showing the danger of war. And then a swift blazing flag of the regiment, the blazing flag, the flag of the military flag. Okay, eagle with the crest of red and gold. That's the military, the badge, kind of like the logos, kind of a stuff. These men were born to drill and die. Again, the alliteration. Also, the life or death situation. Point for them the virtue of slaughter. Virtue in the sense blessing of slaughter. How's that? Blessing of slaughter, blessing of death. Make plain to them the excellence of killing. And a field where 1,000 corpses lie, he mentions again the 1,000 dead bodies that lie on the battlefield. Mother whose heart hung humble as a button. So here we see alteration again, which highlights the effect there. Whose heart hung humble as a button. So this explains that the mother is helpless. She's helpless. She could do nothing after her son passed away. On the bright, splendid shroud of your son. So shroud, splendid shroud, son. So that's alteration again. The mother is helpless. She has lost her son. Do not weep, voice kind. Here comes the refrain again, and from this onwards, the poem is concluded. So, like, As you see, the poet mentions the two lines, "Do not weep, boys kind," again and again. So as I told, that's refrain. And it's also irony in the sense meaning the complete, you're saying something but you mean the complete opposite. So war is kind, is war kind? No. So that's irony. Okay. And it kind of has like an irregular rhyming scheme, also known as free verse rhyming scheme. So it doesn't rhyme, not really. And so you could get a rough idea now like what this poem is about. Okay, so the impacts the public has after war, these stuff are discussed in this poem. It's discussed in a very sarcastic manner. Okay, it's like usually you don't go to someone who's trying to be like, "Do not weep, your loved one died like this, so do not weep, do not weep." We never say it's something like that. We try to console them, but here it's the complete opposite, which is also irony. And yeah, so the literary techniques here are oxymoron, which means putting two opposite words together. So here the oxymoron is unexplained glory. Unexplained glory. This one, the unexplained glory flies above them. Unexplained glory is the oxymoron. And then irony, voice kind. Irregular rhyming scheme, free verse rhyming scheme, both are the same. And then refrain, repeating irony. So do not weep and voice kind is refrain. They repeat again and again. So alteration, obviously, whose no, not whose, heart hung humble, splendid shroud of a sun, drill and dive, God great. So these are the alteration points. And metaphor, the way he metaphorically explains the soldiers as little souls. And I think yeah, it does have a simile. Heart hung as a button. She's comparing that, so it's a simile as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it to discuss in this poem. And I hope you all understood. Subscribe for more like this video and share it so that others could make use of it. So let me know which lesson I should do next. Peace out. I'll see you later.